I don't care who you are. You could be the richest person in the world or the poorest person in the world. You're going to get 24 hours. Nobody gets 20, nobody gets 36. And you're going to get 7 days in a week. Nobody gets 6, nobody gets 8. So the question is, how are you using your time? Welcome to Life of a CISO. I'm Dr. Eric Cole, your host, and we'll be taking you on a journey each week on what it takes to be a CISO and what are solutions that you can implement today if you are currently a Chief Information Security Officer or if you want to be one in the future. This is Life of a CISO. Welcome, 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 welcome. I hope you know what time it is. It's time for Life of a CISO with yours truly. Dr. E is in the house. Always, always, always a pleasure to be with you, spend some time with you, see how you're doing. And it's March. Can you believe it's already March? Can you believe we're almost through the first quarter? Is that crazy? A quarter of 2023 is already gone. Boom. Just like that. All right, so I just wanted to do a little quarterly check-in, right? See how are you doing with being world-class? How are you doing with achieving your goals, with getting to that next level? Because remember, everybody, there is no exception to this rule. Everybody gets the same number of hours in a day and the same number of days in a week. I don't care who you are. You could be the richest person in the world or the poorest person in the world. You're going to get 24 hours. Nobody gets 20, nobody gets 36. And you're going to get 7 days in a week. Nobody gets 6, nobody gets 8. So the question is, how are you using your time? How effective are you at prioritizing and using that time you have? And once again, I'm all about results. So let's take a quick check. Just looking in. For this quarter, have you achieved the results that you wanted? Are you on track for meeting the yearly goals that you set? Now, if you go, whoa, what you talking about? I didn't set any goals. Oh, you got to catch up. You got to catch up with us. Come on. Remember, we got a lot of phrases we use. If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you always had. So if you're not making any changes and you're doing the same old that you've done, then guess what? 2023 is going to be just like 2022, be just like 2021. Now, there are some people that are okay with that. Right? There are some people that have the next 10 years. They're going to work in a certain job, retire, get a pension, right? And they sort of, what they're doing is fine with them. And that's okay. But my guess is, if that's you, you're either not have been a regular listener or you're going to drop off very, very quickly because I don't like average. I don't get along with average. Average doesn't get along with me. I'm about world class. And world class means you're always going to the next level. You're never satisfied. Now, I always have to clarify. Happy is not the same as satisfied. You could love where you're at. I mean, love life. I love life. I love where I'm at. I'm enjoying my life. But what I'm enjoying so much is how many levels in this game of life can I get to before the game is over, right? That's really what I'm all about, right? So yeah, you enjoy in each level and it's amazing and it's wonderful and it's awesome, but you also get so much energy out of going to that next level. So if you're all about, I'm fine where I'm at, my life is great, I have a plan, I'm just going to continue on this track, that's great. But just be aware that's not world class. Remember, the game of life is quite simple until basically your heart stops beating and your brain stops functioning, right? That game, there is no end. It's not like when you play a traditional board game, when a certain condition occurs, you won that game, right? There is always another level. In the game of life, no matter where you are, there's always another level. There's always another level for you to achieve. And the question is, how bad do you want it? Do you want to get to that next level? Are you okay where you're at? Like I said, if you're okay where you're at, then keep doing what you're doing. And you'll keep having what you have. But if there's a part of you that's like, I'm loving my life, but could I love it even more? Right? Could I take it to that next level of awesomeness? And you always want to see how many levels you can get to while you're still around and on this planet. That's what we're about here, which means you have to keep doing new things. You have to keep changing. Now, here's the coolest part of all. You are a creator. You get to create your life. Let me say that again. You are a creator. And once again, we're getting to some deep stuff here, right? Because we're doing quarterly check-ins, so we're covering all aspects of life of a CISO, which means all areas of your life. To be world-class, you can't just be world-class in business. If you are out of health, you have limiting beliefs, you have other problems and issues in relationships, you will never, ever be world-class. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. All of the domains of your life work together. But here's the coolest part. You create your life. So people always go, oh, I wonder what I'm currently focused on and thinking about. And I'm like, okay, look at your current life. That is what you're currently focused and thinking about. Because whatever you're focused and thinking about is exactly what you create. I know it sounds crazy. That's crazy, but that's how it works. So if you want to change your outer world, you change your inner world. If you change how you think and what you believe and how you act and how you show up internally first, then your external world starts to change. So it's real easy. People always go, oh, I want to see what I'm thinking about, where I'm focused. Just look at where you're at. And that will tell you exactly what you're currently creating. Now, here's the cool part. You can change that. You can basically take your current life and say, okay, I want to tweak this. I want to tweak that. I want to modify this. I want to modify that. And you start believing it, thinking it, acting it, and assuming it's true. And guess what will happen? It will become true. So you get to create that world. So the question now is, do you have a blueprint for that creation? Do you know what it is you wanted for this quarter, for next quarter, for the following quarter, for the year, for the 3 years, for 5? And you can go as crazy as you want. I know it blows some people away, but I do 90-year planning. They're like, you crazy, man. If you're just figuring out that I'm crazy, where have you been? Right? You clearly haven't been listening or following my podcast. But here's why I like it. It pushes your creativity to a new level. If you're doing 1 year planning or even 5-year planning, you're limited because you're like, okay, not sure if I can do that in 1 year or 5 years. Let me ask you a question. Do you honestly believe if you made it your primary focus and you put all your energy and effort in it and you spent 90 years that you couldn't become a billionaire? I'll tell you right now, every living billionaire and every past billionaire, all of them have done it in under 90 years. There's no one who took more than 90 years. I think the average person typically becomes a billionaire at around age 40. That means they did it in 40 years. Now, if you take away high school and that kind of stuff, you could probably say 20, but if you look at an entirety of a life, everybody who was a billionaire did it before they were 90. Which means if you give yourself 90 years, why can't you achieve anything? Why can't you achieve anything you desire? So that's why I love that 90-year component. People always push back. So Eric, you're saying you're going to live to 140? Why not? And here's the real part. That's irrelevant. Because if you actually get very serious and you have a blueprint for 90 years and you believe it, you eat it, drink it, sleep it, right? And you are so confident it is true. Do you really think it would take you 90? It'll probably take you a heck of a lot quicker. But the 90 years removes any of your natural constraints to limit you. I know very few people that I can convince that they will be a billionaire in a year, or that they can be a billionaire in 5 years. But if I sit you down and we're really, honestly, you have a hard time arguing with me that you couldn't do it in 90 years. That's twice as long as anyone else. And you have the blueprints that you could follow to do it. So most people, they're still a little hesitant, right? Because that's a big number. But when you give them 90 years, there's a much higher chance and probability they're going to buy into it. So that's really what you want to do is, what does your life look like in 90 years? Do you want to continue to be the top CISO? That's cool. That's awesome. Do you want to be a CEO? Do you want to have multiple companies? Do you want to share your knowledge? Do you want to be a coach like what I'm doing? And once again, if 90 is just way too out, for people that are brand new to this, I usually start them with 20 or 30 years. It's a little more in grasp, or even 10. For some people that have never done 1 or 2 year planning, 10 years is even a lot. So we can even start there. In 10 years, where would you like to be in your career? If you maximize this game called life, where do you want to be in 10 years? Do you want to be the CISO of a Fortune 10 company? Do you want to have multiple companies? Do you want to be running your own company? Do you want to be doing a consultant? You need to get really, really serious about the path you're on, because how else are you going to be a world-class CISO? Right? If you just say, I want the title, that's easy. But do you want to be happy? Do you want to have a team of 50 people? Like, what, you need to get much more detailed about what it is you really want in your career, your business, and your life. Because guess what? You ultimately create it. So the clearer you can get, the more likely it's going to happen. But I need you to get specific. I need some specificity out of you of what is your dream. That's one thing I can't do for you. People always come up to me and they're like, Eric, what should be my ideal career goal? I'm like, I can tell you what mine is, right? But you are different than me, right? Only you can answer that question. I can probe you. So I can go in and say, okay, what do you love to do? What do you do better than anyone else with the least amount of effort? What do you really enjoy doing? When you just sort of daydream about the ideal version of you, what does it look like? What are they doing? What is their career? Where do they live? How much money are they making? Right? Another great question is, what are your income goals? Because that's going to also drastically determine your career path. If you are comfortable, and some people, when I say this, like, oh, if I could achieve that, it'd be amazing. If you're good with 1 or 2 mil a year, and that's like crazy for you, then yeah, being a CISO at a Fortune 10 company, that's very reasonable with bonuses and achievements and salaries and stock investments and things like that. That's a reasonable number. So great, those two are aligned. That's a great path for you. But I also have some folks that go, Eric, I want to be worth 500 million. That's awesome. But I'll tell you right now, being a CISO at a Fortune 50 company is not going to get you there. It's not. I don't know. I know people are always like, oh, you got to be creative. Yeah, but if you look at that career track, that's just not one that happens. Now, could you possibly be that's this career track and make a ton of really good investments? Maybe, but those really are contradictory. So in that case, you need to eventually start your own business. You need to be running your own business. Now, it could be a vCISO business. You could have 100 people working for you, and you train, promote, and push out vCISO, and that absolutely can get you to that 500 million. And you could even, as part of running your own vCISO company, you could be a vCISO half the time at a Fortune 50 company. So you can get some alternative versions of that get you there, but it's going to be a slightly different version. So that's where you need to start aligning all those different pieces. What are your financial goals? What are your personal goals? What are your work goals? What are your title goals? And then here's the ultimate. You absolutely can do anything you want. You absolutely can achieve anything that your heart desires. Here's the question. Are you willing to make the sacrifices to do so? Right? I have friends of mine, they're like, Eric, I am not going to work more than 40 hours a week. I'm going to take a week vacation every quarter, and I'm never going to work weekends. Great. So your personal life is a priority over your business life. But then don't come to me and say that you want to build a $50 million company in 3 years. Now, I believe anything's possible, but I'll tell you, running, starting, growing a business is going to take a lot more than 40 hours a week. You're going to have to work weekends, and you are probably not going to be able to take vacations every single quarter in the beginning. But the question is this. If you make sacrifices now, where you say, okay, I'm going to work 80-hour weeks, work weekends, and not take vacations, but then in 10 years, I can work 5 hours a week and take vacations every month and never ever work a weekend, is that sacrifice worth it for you? So you also have to be willing, what are you willing to sacrifice and what is required to meet all those goals? That's where people often struggle the most, is they have conflicting goals. They want to go in and do this, and this, and it's just not possible altogether. One has to be a priority over the other. Now, can you get to the point where you're very healthy, you go to the gym every day, you spend time with your kids, you have great relationships, and you have a thriving business? Absolutely, right? But it's constantly taking time, and you're constantly reprioritizing those tasks. So right now, as we finish up this quarter and we go into the second quarter, what is your top priority? What is your number one priority that you want to achieve? So if we go in and we look at your body and health, we look at your mindset, we look at your relationships, and we look at your business. All of it is on the table. All of it is on the drawing board. which one of those domains is currently your top priority, and what is the specific, measurable outcome that you want to achieve in that area. The clearer and more focused you can get, the quicker and faster you're going to achieve those results. So what I really want you to focus in the next couple of weeks as we finish up March is really drill down to what are your priorities? What is your focus? What do you want to achieve in second quarter of this year? About 90 days, right? 3 months, about 90 days. What would you achieve, and what could you achieve, and what, if you achieved it over the next 90 days, would make that the best quarter you ever had in your life? And then, what is required to achieve it, and are you willing to make those sacrifices? The clearer and more focused you can get of dialing in your life, the better and more successful you'll be. I know this was a little twist than normal, but I just felt like let's do a little quarterly check-in. Let's get real. Let's get raw. Let's drill it down. Hope you found it useful. Listen to this a few times because there's a lot of gold nuggets in it, and I look forward to hearing and seeing your post of what your number one priority is in quarter two. Hope you have an amazing week. See you next week on Life Assistant.